Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start painting. I went ahead and squeezed out, this is Cad Red Light, this is Cad Yellow hue, and then this is ultramarine blue, and this is titanium white. If you look at the how to mix your flesh color on the YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel, that'll give you some idea of how to mix the paint. So what I'm going to do now, and again, this is all for if those students who know that they're going to be very busy and they want to go ahead and get started, you guys can go ahead and start spotting your colors. Now, with that said, try to stick within these colors. If you have some other fancy colors, try not to cheat and use like a flesh color. The whole point of this is learn to mix the colors. If you don't have these colors specifically at home, but they're as close to them, then use that because I will limit your palette when you're in class. All right, so if you look at here, I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is number one. This is number one. Right below from number one is number three. So I'm going to go ahead and start on number three. And if you look at the color number three, it's a bit kind of purplish. So I might go ahead and purple sometimes is kind of a bit hard, but that purple is, if you look at it, I'm going to show you. It's actually, again, this is number three. It's actually kind of a light gray. I'm going to start out with the blue and see what happens with the blue and the red. And for purple, we want probably just a touch of white. And that will start to give me some idea of how close I am. And that actually is starting to get pretty close to that three. But even mixing on the palette, you really just don't know how close you are going to be unless you go ahead and put it right on there. And if I look at it, that's actually not too bad. I'm going to put a little bit more touch of blue. So I want you guys to get as close as possible to that color. Again, that's the whole point of is mixing paint. That's even closer, maybe just a touch more white. And so I'd say that's pretty close. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use that color in my number three. All right. So if I feel as though once I put this on here, that's a pretty close color to that, I might add just a touch of white on here and go ahead and tint it and mix it as close as I can to that color. And actually it's in that value. We want to get the color right as close as we can to hit it as close as possible. But the main thing is we really want to get that value right, because value is really important. And if we look at it, that's not too bad. I'm gonna keep lightening it just a little bit more. And if you feel like you pick up other colors, don't be afraid to use your paper towel. I'm going to cool it a little bit more because if you look at it, actually is getting a bit cooler. But purple is a tricky color, so that's even closer if you look at it to that three. All right. The other thing is with oils is not like acrylic actually, where you would acrylic is once it dries, actually it dries twice as dark. I'm kind of happy with that. That's pretty close to what I've got there. I'm gonna leave that. And so that's pretty close to R3, I would say. And then I'm just gonna keep going and keep mixing. I'll take my paper towel. If you are at home and you don't have any turpenoid, just take your dish soap and use your dish soap to clean your brush off. You can start, I also have another YouTube channel for that talks a little bit, that is specifically how to clean your brushes in non-toxic way. So you'll start out with a little bit of vegetable oil, clean as much of the oil off as possible, and then you will wash it with dish soap, and then you can start another one. So I'm going to do one more. So right above here is the other number three. I'm going to start with the second number three right above. So if we look, there's one right across from that is three. And that three actually is much cooler. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take my cool. And a lot of times actually when I paint, I will actually paint right directly onto the canvas so I can make adjustment. Because sometimes when you're mixing and you got this perfect color, what happens though is that it actually, even if your palette is gray, and I know this is really a a white canvas, you really ideally should start with a gray palette. But because we have a gray palette, it's fine. But I say that's a pretty close number 3 to that one. It's a little bit harder. I might neutralize it just a little bit because it's blue. The complement of blue then is kind of orange. So I'm going to put a touch of yellow into that and neutralize that 3. That purple is what I'm trying to say. If I neutralize it too much and I need to then cool it just a little bit more. So anytime you get into mud and it gets too muddy, you have to put a little bit more of your intense colors back in, and that's exactly what I've done. And now actually that 3 is pretty close to that one as well. So that purple right here is actually a lot cooler than this one. This one is much warmer. All right, I will keep on going, and what I'll do is I'll paint the rest of all these empty shapes around here. If you're looking all the way around here, I'll paint all of that. And then I will actually then take my strip off like that. I'll take it all off.